Hi, gonna literally start this from scratch. It's been a while since we looked at this one machine. It's M21 Junior, and it's just been sitting in a garage, literally. Okay, it's been moved around, and I'm just gonna pull it out and see what's up. Okay, I probably have to check what happened. Like, when's the last time we looked at this? I can pretty much figure out. I'm guessing somewhere around 8 years. Okay, so I mean, when I was done with this, when I had overhauled it, and the early videos showed the overhaul. So this is literally again sitting in the garage. Okay, so I'm just gonna pull it out. Now, the reason why I'm doing it this way is because many of you, if you come across something like this, like, oh, your uncle, you inherit something from your uncle or whatever, some relative or friend, and you just see this thing. And I remember the first time I bought this, it was at a used, like a used store up in North Shore side, and I mean, I recognized it for what it was. The guy thought it was a toaster. So I knew it was an espresso machine. Okay. But anyway, um, at the time I worked for a coffee company, and I actually found the history of this. Um, uh, uh, an Italian restaurant went out of business, and they sold everything, and this ended up in storage somewhere, and then again it got sold. The storage was sold, and then again this machine was picked up by the the store owner, another store owner, and he thought it was a toaster, and it just came with a whole bunch of other stuff. Okay, um, like it says, one man's junk's another man's treasure. So I bought, I did a little work for him repairing other machines, and in lieu of payment, he gave me this. Okay, um, I have the full history because I just coincidentally I ended up working for the company who sold this machine to them. Okay, uh, so here we go. I had everything stored, the portafilter, and one thing about storage, if you know you're gonna store a machine, like in other words, you plan to, in other words, it's a justifiable shutdown. You're in a situation where you know you're gonna close a shop, or you're gonna return the equipment to the distributor, and what the distributor will do, they'll pull it apart, empty out the water, check it, make sure everything works, and then dry everything off. Because when it sits with water, it calcifies the tank. And even though it doesn't add any more calcification, it calcifies. So it gets clogged in everything. Everything gets clogged. Okay, so in this particular machine, I had an option of doing I had pretty much all the options. The standard, frothing, with in this particular instance, I got the auto froth tip, um, because this is more. I use this as a training machine. I was hoping to teach my kids how to make espresso so they could work as a barista. Eh, you know how things go like that. Anyway, single portafilter basket with a single spout, not a double. And then also with this option, I could attach an auto frother, which is an older model for Cimbali. Okay, but this is an attachment. I can go back to the straight tip. This one has a little hole, and I have videos on the differences of tips. Okay, so it's all changeable. One of the advantage of this type of machine is it's completely fixable. I mean, you still can get parts. You can even get parts from Amazon. You don't have to get it from the manufacturer. Uh, the the framework may or may not be available. You could go to junkyards or whatever. But if you do have the frames, in this particular case, it was originally brass colored, and all I did was I sanded it down, buffed it up, and I spray painted it with brass color again. Okay, we'll see how this one goes. I know I can get this one up because it was working when I put it away, but I did it like they say. I didn't winterize it. I just stuffed it in a corner someplace. Okay, so we'll see what's going on. Yeah. Okay, so this cover, I don't have all the parts for this because I mean, like I said, I did get it second hand or third hand or fourth hand, and you can see the condition just sitting there. Here's a good example. Here's a good example. This is just a plain aluminum tamper, and you see it's all crusted up, just sitting there. Okay, and that's what happens with metal parts when you don't prep it. I should have cleaned this up, polished it, maybe given it, there's a lot of ways to do it. I could have wrapped it in oilcloth or vegetable oilcloth, or even sprayed it with a clear coat and stuff like that, because it'll all wear off. When you want to use it again, you could just buff this up. I mean, right now, I would just buff this up on a wire wheel, and it'll be just like good as new. Okay, so yeah, it looks cruddy, but it's all, like I says, it's all fixable. Okay, so I got a whole stack of different kinds of portafilters, and I don't know. This is a washer. I'm not sure. I have to check the books, and then my hot cover for the cup, and then there's various plates. And like I said, it's just sitting there and it collects, bugs, everything. Okay, so we'll just go through, and this is what you would typically go through if you're checking out a machine for the first time. Don't even plug it in. There's things that you need to check right away. Okay. Go through, check all the knobs, see if they're like stuck or broken. Hopefully they were left in an open position, because if they were left in a closed position, what happens is it crunches the washers. So then now the washers are all deformed. This one was open, so that's okay. The reason why it was open was probably because when I turned it off, I released all the pressure. So I opened up the valve, the steam valve. The water, same with the steam one, you open up all the valves to flush out the water out of the water valves. And that's an easy way to drain the water out of the system. The next thing to do is check the vacuum valve, which is right here, or anti-eddy valve, and just see if it moves. You just gotta pick it up. There's a video on how to replace this or how to check it. Okay, okay, I notice. Okay, so now I know why this was put in the garage. You're gonna see stuff like this, okay? This is a coil for the group head, okay? And I notice now the whole group head is, the valve for the group valve is missing, okay? There's a video for this too. So I'm pretty sure what happened was I had to fix another machine, and I didn't have time to go buy a valve. You can get them on Amazon now, right? I didn't want to spend the money. I knew I could get the other machine working if I just took this valve, which was working perfectly, and I replaced the other machine, got it up and running, and set it on its way. Okay, so right off the bat, we can't turn this machine on because well, yes and no. We could turn it on and then see if it, water fills up. We could check all that. But what would happen is water would start squirting out the group head because there's nothing to hold it back. The this valve holds the water pressure back, okay, and waits for the water to boil. So now it's holding not only the water pressure, it's holding the steam pressure, okay. So you got those two things working, and it would just squirt everything out and get everything wet. So, but we could fill up the tank with water, either manually through the anti-eddy valve. We just remove this valve and just literally pour water in, check the level, and then turn it on, heat it up, let it bring it. As soon as it starts boiling, what's going to happen is you leave the anti-eddy valve open, you'll see water boiling up. So all that does is it just checks the heater if it's working. Now, there's a safer way to do that, is you just check the meter on the plugs, and the meter will show no connection, and then as soon as you turn it on to heat, it would show current going through, okay. Or you can actually measure the current if you have a ohm meter or amp probe, and you can check the heater element. There's a video for that, how to check the heater elements if it's working, and you can just turn it on for a few seconds, check the readings, and see if you got electricity going through, okay, and then what amperage and stuff like that. And you could do that, okay. But since you already know, like we already know, we don't have a valve. So other than trying to identify parts to order, like you want to get all your orders together, instead of just ordering one at a time and then finding out, oh, this doesn't work, so now you got to wait and then order that. So you would go through, there's ways to manually check everything without turning it on, okay. I have a lot of videos on that particular situation, but in this one, we're just gonna take this apart and see what's going on. So we already know we're missing the valve, okay. So the eddy valve works, okay. The valves were all open and loose, okay. Let's check just basic stuff, okay. I'm gonna push this back, okay. I got, oh, and that's another thing. When you're taking these things off, look for, like, this is the water collection, the dump water collection tray. I just found a washer, so I have to think offhand, I know this is a washer for something, but offhand I can't remember. It's been a while, like I said. And then so double check, see if you got any parts that's on the floor of the machine or around where they had it stored. Look around the floor, because you never know what fell off or just fell on the floor because they were moving stuff around. If it looks like a mystery stuff, it's better to pick it up. And then if you have the manual, go back to the manual and look. Or if you don't have a manual, well, you can ask me. But if you don't have a manual and you're not sure where this part goes, like a part, as you go through and take apart the machine, you will find things missing or similar parts, and you can find out what it is that way. So we took off the cover. Now this one uses there's a PC board box here, and this is where the switches are all connected. Okay, so we just check to see all the switches, see if they click, they don't, they actually work. There's a push button, stuff like that. We're not going to open the box now because we don't need to. I mean, it's if the box was open, then I would check, but this box is closed, so more than likely nothing went in. Now, if you have, I've opened machines where there's rat droppings and torn up wires and chewed up stuff. Well, then yeah, then you would have to open it up. Okay, but this one, even though it was out in the garage, looks pretty good. Okay, so another thing we do is we take apart the panels. I need a Phillips. number 2 Phillips. Number 2 Phillips. Okay, number 2 Phillips. If you're not sure what a Phillips is, you shouldn't be taking apart this machine. Okay, there's 2 screws up here. You don't need to remove them. You just need to loosen them, and they're the shield for the tank. Okay, it's a curved shield, and there's 2 screws holding the top of it. You just need to loosen it because the covers pull off. There's these slots that go under the screw, and what you do by loosening the screw, you can just pull this off. Now, you see this panel? It's just a simple panel, and it's double. Like there's a chrome. You can unscrew this, and the chrome. When you clean up chrome, also, or in this case stainless steel, just use a wire brush or brush wheel, and you just polish it up. And if you want to get really fancy, you take a round drill. I mean a drill with a round a wire brush, and you can put it on a drill press, and you can press down, and it'll make a swirl pattern. And then you move it like a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch, and you press down again, it'll make another swirl pattern. And that's how they get those fancy swirl patterns on the chrome. So if there's a lot of pitting, you can use that swirl pattern to kind of cover that up. Or you can just use sandpaper, a light grit, and just scour until you remove all the blemishes. Okay, you scour it in one direction. Okay, I'll just take a wire wheel to this because it's not that bad. Okay, there's a few rust spots here and there, but I removed the 2 screws, run it on a wire wheel, and boom. Okay, now as you can see, this is the original color. It's this bright brassy color. Okay, now the Italian machine. Okay, this is an Italian machine. Now the standard models usually come black, completely shiny black. It may have the logo of the Italian flag on it, you know, just the colors. Or you can, you know, if you're painting this, like I'll probably paint this, well, if you use white, the only problem with white is dirt really shows up, and coffee, as you know, is black, right? And most of our appliances are black. Like even the current machine we have, you know, is black. So I'll probably end up painting this like a gloss black, and maybe I might even throw a band of the Italian colors. Not too much, you know, just a little. But since you're doing it for yourself or your house or your friend or a gift or whatever, you can make it to the whatever color you want. I mean, you could put like a flag over here, or you know, I mean, at one time I thought putting I mean, I wouldn't go so far as putting Hello Kitty, but you know what I mean. You can put any kind of logo on this because it's just a blank panel. Okay, now there's 2 of these. There's a left and right. So there's 2. Okay, and same thing. Okay, so. And you can save that for last. I mean, the cosmetic stuff, you want to do that the very last thing, because you want to make sure the machine's working and get everything in tip-top shape in running condition, and you've made espresso and stuff like that, and you haven't found any problems, no leaks or whatever, no steaming, accidental steaming, stuff like that. And then you go and figure out, okay, what color am I going to paint this, right? Because you can spend your leisure, you're not worried about the machine. Now, I have videos that identify the parts, but I can generally go over it. We have the, like I said, anti-eddy valve, the safety valve, and then there's a water level probe, of course the group head, and of course our missing group valve. There's a pressure stat. This measures the steam pressure and turns on the heater, turns it on and off. Okay. In this particular instance, it's a can. They come in several shapes, and I have a lot of videos on pressure stats, how to like fix them, how to recover them, should you recover them. There's different styles, and there's a lot of videos on YouTube if you want any other information. Oh look, we found a rubber foot. Okay, these are the extended legs, the longer ones. They allow to get underneath the machine for like when you have it on a counter. Most times when it's on a counter, you don't have access. You can't have it too high, especially if it's in a home, because then it'll hit the top of the cabinets on top. So a lot of times they have the lower versions of this. The reason why this one has a higher one is probably because it was used in a restaurant, and you want the higher elevation so that you can get underneath and wipe it, for inspection, food inspectors and stuff like that. And plus, you don't want anything running around under there. Okay. The back plate is, since most times when you're cleaning a machine, you take off the side panels and you just check for things, stuff like that. In this instance, you don't need to remove. Most times, when you're just doing general maintenance, you don't remove the back panel. But in this particular case, where we're removing it, it has 4 of these screws, stainless steel screws. Now, the thing about these, this machine is, what's nice about it, there's these clips that keep the nut. It's a clip nut. And so that way you don't lose the back end of this. You just these are metric screws, by the way. Stainless steel, so they don't rust. Yeah, I've come across some machines where they replace the screw with just a regular steel screw, and it's hard getting out a rusted screw. Okay, so this panel again is just. In this case, I did paint the inside. So this was a second color that I put, the spray paint. I believe this was, you know what? This was stainless steel. So I don't have to paint this again. Oh no, it is brass color. Yeah, right there. I see it. Yeah, the original color was brass. Okay, so yeah, you can paint this. I would, wire brush all the paint off and then repaint it with something other color or same color, whatever. But all this can be taken off with a wire brush. Okay. Okay. This is stainless steel. This can be removed. It can be removed, and we can. It doesn't need to be. But I'm gonna wow, this is really, that's really tight. Okay, so I'm gonna need a wrench for that. Okay, now this particular style, I'm gonna lower this. Okay, so closer. Okay, let's see if I can get it down. At least you can see it. Okay. So, this is the older style M20. Okay, the newer styles don't use the tank anymore. It's a real simple method. Looks complicated, but it's real simple. You don't need a whole lot of electronics. It's just they just have a number of water level meters. And you adjust the water level with these pins that fill up in this tank. So the water will fill up in this tank, and then when it hits a desired, there's a selection of pins. Okay, when it hits a desired height, it tells the water valve to shut off and stop filling this. Okay, so in this particular case, this one fills all the way up to the top of the tank, where it tells there's a probe there that tells it to, okay, stop, the tank is full. Okay, then when you press the button to start a dose, depending on which button you press will determine which probe you get. Okay, and like a spark plug, like a alternator. I mean, not alternator. The distributor in a car, right? You know, each plug, each cord goes to a different spark plug in the engine, right? Same situation. Each of these is for a different size dose, okay? And you adjust the dose by moving the rod up and down, okay? So what happens is, let's say we're going for a single dose, so that's a very little amount of water, okay? What will happen is the pump will start pumping, and it'll pump water into the group head, and it'll push out the hot water that's in the group head, okay, into the portafilter, okay. And once it reaches like, oh, okay, we're looking at 4 ounces of water or 2 ounces of water, it will hit that probe and stop. So to adjust how much water for that particular shot, you adjust the probe height, and you know, trial and error, okay, and you keep shooting doses, and that will give you the correct amount. So that way, every time you hit a dose, it's always the correct amount of water. Okay, well, the exact amount of water. Whether it's correct or not, all depends on how accurate you set this up. Okay, once it's set up, unless it changes owner or the owner wants something different, usually you don't mess with it. This is set up. I know this is set up to a standard dose for single and doubles. A logo, anyway, and then an Americano. So single dose, double dose, standard. Okay. Oh, what is this? Oh, okay. See, look for parts on the look for parts, loose parts. Okay, I was wondering where this is. This is the water feed. What do you call it? Usually this comes from a water filter. You have city water going into a water filter, at least a particulate filter. You can have a whole water softener system, whatever, and then it attaches to a hose, and then this connects up. There's a washer in here, and it connects in the bottom to the water valve, which is right here. Okay, so keep this. Like I said, you know, if you find things on the bottom, there's a reason for them to be there. Okay, so the way this one works is water flows in here. This is a valve, opens and closes the water, and it goes to a one-way valve and a check valve, and also a pressure regulator. There's also, sometimes there's little screen filters in these, and then it goes in and it goes straight to a diverter, which splits it off into, fills up the water tank, and also hits water to the group head, right, which is stopped by the group head valve, which in this particular case is missing. And so it's a pretty simple system. There is, to boost up the pressure, there is the vibrating type ULA pump. This is the one that makes that big noise, you know, like that. That's this one, okay. I prefer the rotary pump. I prefer that one, but a lot of places gone with the vibration, especially the early models. They went with the vibration pump so they could keep everything in it. One of the problems with this unit having a rotary pump is there's no room for it. On the newer M20s, or M21s, they don't use this canister anymore. Okay, so then all of a sudden this whole back end is clear. So they would squeeze in the rotary water pump, which has the rotary pump, which is about this big, and M50 series. There's a description of it, and then the motor, which is on the 110 volt or 120 volt motor is pretty big. It's really big. Actually, the 110 unit won't fit in here, so it has to be on the floor or down low, and there would be a plug that would extend from here to turn on that motor. Okay. If your city water is above 6 bar or at 6 bar, you don't need a pump. You can use the vibration pump, which would work fine. Okay. Uh, if it's even higher, then you may not need a pump. As long as you got 9 bar. As long as you got 9 bar, you don't need a pump at all. Okay, so the 9 bar can come from an external pump system, an external pressure system, or whatever. As long as you get 9 bar, because that's what you need to push the water through the espresso head. Okay, so there's various ways of getting 9 bar. So as long as you get 9 bar, you're okay with whatever system you're using. Okay, so this uses a vibration pump, and I can pretty much guarantee that a vibration pump with just the water sitting in it, it calcified it. The vibrator pump section is stuck. So I'll probably have to either replace it, or in this case, I'll just take it apart, because even though it's tedious, you can't clean them. And the problem with cleaning these little guys is there's like 20 parts in them. There's quite a few videos on how to clean them. It's just that if you misplace a part, the whole thing, you got to toss the whole thing. Because you can't just buy the one part. You got to buy the whole thing. So lay it out on a nice clean cloth or paper towel. Take it apart. So if you do drop any parts, you know where it is. It didn't drop on the floor, because if you drop it on the floor, you won't even be able to see it. So yeah, a lot of videos on how to clean these particular pumps, but yeah, you can check that out. Okay, so this is our heater. Oh, okay, that's something. There is a limit switch. It's a safety device in case this thing overheats. Now, this thing, it looks like it's not even wired in. So it wasn't used, because this I can tell this limit switch is cracked. So like in coffee pots, you can probably salvage one from a coffee pot or whatever, but they're fairly common, fairly relatively inexpensive. So when I overhaul this machine, I'll probably replace this and rehook it up. Where it goes is whatever you can put it in line with the thermostat. The thermostat is a lower voltage system. Well, in this case, 110. It might be even 12 volts. No, this one's 110. There's no lower voltage. So I'll probably just line it up with the thermostat, pressure stat, and put it in line with that. So when this pops open, breaks the circuit, that way the pressure stat can't turn on or off. Okay, so it just turns off completely, saving the tank from blowing up. Another safety. Okay, so what it does is, if there's a runaway, for example, the element is cracked, or the thermostat is shorted, in other words, it's turned on permanently. So that means this thing's heating up, and it's heating up and heating up, and all the water's boiling off. The pressure is going really, really high, and it's just boiling. Now, once the pressure reaches a certain level, this safety valve here is supposed to pop open, and you'll see videos, or you'll go into a coffee shop, and then all of a sudden you hear this, a big explosion up at the top of the machine, and then all of a sudden, about 10 seconds later, it goes, and then 15 minutes later, it goes, and then that's this going off. Now, they're supposed to turn off the machine once that happens, because there's no way to mistake it. You know the thing's overboiling, okay? What will happen is it'll keep overboiling until there's no water in here, and the elements will heat up, crack open, and then, yeah, it'll short up, maybe even cause a fire or something like that. And if this thing fails, this whole tank will explode. So more than likely, in most instances, these things are pretty reliable. I mean, they're certified by the manufacturer. They're even got a tag showing your safety. And as long as nobody tampers with this, but they're pretty much. It's possible to open them up and tamper with them, but why? You know, it's a safety valve. It's just like a safety valve on your water heater in your house. You're not going to tamper with that. You're just going to buy a new one. Okay? So in this particular case, yeah, buy a new one for safety's sake. Okay? So, so now I know. I mean, not really required, but it's a nice safety feature, especially if I don't know where this machine's going to end up. Okay, so I'm going to reinstall or replace this. Okay, these are the heater elements. I can pull this off, take an ohm meter, and check to see if it's continuity. I'll check the heater element to the casing to see if it's grounded out. I could remove the tank. I know I cleaned this tank. I don't know. I'm debating whether I want to pull it apart again. I don't really need to, because this machine, even though it was overhauled, it hardly got used. It got used maybe once a month, because we have a regular coffee pot, right? So I've only used this machine for making videos and training other people how to do espressos, okay? Which didn't happen that often. Okay, so I got that. All of this can be taken apart. This is just straight gloss black. I would take everything off, sand down all the rust, clean it up, repaint the whole frame. There's not that much wiring in this, so I could either mask it off and then just hit all the rust spots, make sure everything's cleaned up. I would go through it, air blow everything out. If there's a lot of gunk like syrup, if you have one where there's tons of syrup on here, make sure the electronics is covered. Tape it up if you need to, cover it with a plastic bag, and just shoot the whole thing on hot water, okay? And that'll get off the syrup, because the syrup will short out circuits, okay? So, okay, I'm gonna start closing up because I got the lawnmower going to somebody next door is doing it. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Again, take everything, what you think you need to do. Like we're gonna have to check the water pump. There's ways of testing it. It's just 110. This one, I can just hook up 110 to this and turn it on. Stick the hose in water. You know, see if it works. Okay. If you're gonna do it dry, which I don't recommend, all you have to do is touch 110 to the terminal, see if it buzzes like that, and if it does, then let it go. Then come back to it later. More than likely, it works. The only way to truly check it is to put the back end hose to feed water to it, and you just stick it in a cup of water and see if it pumps the water out. Right? Okay, but as long as it's buzzing, you don't really have to worry about it. You can come back to it later. The front plates can be removed. Like I said, you can sand it off, and it's just cosmetic. You can pull off the plug, the knobs come off, and you can remove this plate, the screws, stuff like that. Same thing, paint up the plate, what have you. Okay. So, again. If the knobs are really bad, you can buy new knobs. Okay. So let's. If you have any questions, give a yell in the comment section. I'll try and answer all your questions. Okay. And the next video on this will be probably hooking it up to see if it works. Okay. Well, it should work. I gotta replace after I replace the valve. Okay.